Om Namah Shri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Soraye Satchit Sukha Swarupaya Swamine Tapaharini. Dr. Coimbatore Swami, the founder of this institute, the other dignitaries on the dais, the office bearers of the VIMS, Vivekananda Institute of Management, and the dear students. I am happy to be here, especially on the occasion of the 150th birth anniversary of Swami Vivekananda, which is being celebrated all over the world. And on this auspicious occasion, Dr. Coimbatore Swami, my dear friend, has asked me to speak a few words on servant leadership. Though this concept is very popular nowadays in all the management circles, I am happy to inform you that the seed of this servant managementship starts in a monastery. The founder of this concept, the framer who has postulated this concept, is Robert Greenleaf, but he got the idea from a beautiful book by Hermann Hesse, who has written very wonderful books. Even about 40 years back, I read another book of Hermann Hesse, which is also a very wonderful book, and that is also about the spiritual progress of a person. One outside and a monk inside a monastery, two contrasting personalities. This is also a similar, the name of the book is Journey to the East. East definitely meaning India. And the journey is in a spiritual quest. He is in search of something spiritual, the character in the novel. That is a group of people going on a journey, and it is a spiritual quest. And there is a person called Leo in that group. And Leo is the servant. And he is helping everybody with menial tasks. And the journey is continuing. One day suddenly, Leo is missing. Leo is missing in the group. And they find that without him, they cannot continue the journey.
Very simple. The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. Simple. Next. Vivekananda always first to learn to be a servant, and then you will be fit to be a master. Finished now. Servant leadership. Next. Upon the concept of servant leadership, Pudusa Greenleaf கொண்டு வந்தது மாத்திரம் அல்ல. And அவர் வந்து because he is a professor or he has got that kind of an intelligence, he has made it as a concept. But it is a காலகாலமா இருந்ததுதான். You see what the Chinese philosopher said. Not சொல்லுவோம் Chinese philosopher. என்ன சொல்றாரு? The greatest leader forgets himself and attends to the development of others. What is it then? This is our leader. Correct? நம்ம சாணக்கியர் என்ன சொல்றாரு? அர்த்தசாஸ்திரத்துல the leader shall consider as good. Who is a good leader? A good leader is one, he does something not for himself, but what pleases his subjects. Subjects are people. You understand? Next. Jesus, அவர் சொன்னாரல்ல, சுவாமிஜி சொன்னாரல்ல, the greatest among you shall be your servant. Emperor Robert Greenleaf. The servant leader is servant first, and it begins with the natural feeling that one wants to serve first. Next. This is the greatest thing. அவர் வந்து நவகாலியை பத்தி எல்லாம் சொல்லிட்டு இருந்தாருல்ல, நிறைய பிரச்சனைகள் வரும் காந்திக்கு. அப்ப சொல்றாரு, whenever you are confronted with an opponent, conquer him with Love. This is the essence of any kind of inspired or visionary leadership or whatever you call. Leadership, the most important thing is this. You must have love for your people. Then only you are a leader. நீங்க ஒரு போய் ஏதாவது ஒரு பெரிய கம்பெனில ஒர்க் பண்ண போறீங்க, you will have a lot of your colleagues. உங்களோட சபார்டினேட்ஸ் இருப்பாங்க, உங்களுக்கு superiors இருப்பாங்க. எத்தனை பேர் எந்த சிச்சுவேஷன்ல இருந்தாலும் when there is a confrontation, how can you conquer? Only through love. That is the objective. Next. And Vivekananda said, they alone live who live for others. The rest are more dead than alive. Correct? பெரிய பெரிய மகான்களை பத்தி எல்லாம் நம்ம பேசிட்டு இருக்கிறோம். காந்தியை பத்தி பேசுறோம், சுவாமி விவேகானந்தா பத்தி பேசுறோம், ராமகிருஷ்ண பரமஹம்சா பத்தி பேசுறோம், புத்தாவை பத்தி பேசுறோம், ஜீசஸ் பத்தி பேசுறோம். They are all living today. We are talking about them, yeah, because they have lived for others.
And the leadership systems totally different from the way that we see today. The earlier systems, ancient systems, gave importance to the people at large, society at large. In fact, when I read the ancient economic histories, social histories, I find out that 3000 years back, the societies had huge impact. In fact, it was the societies, servant leaders, or this use of the word servant leader, terminology servant leader, is just a metaphor. We can see this as a noble kind of leadership. Leadership that cares for others. So this kind of noble leadership has been practiced for longer period here. In fact, during the time of Buddha, there is an incident in Buddha's life. He was a young prince at that time. In those days, there were again two types of social organizations. In fact, they were the governing organizations also. One was called Sabha, other was called Samiti. In Sabha, everybody is a member. Every adult person is a member. In the higher other type, the leaders are members. So there are two kinds of organizations. In one Sabha to which this person, Buddha, at that time, Prince Siddhartha, he was a member because every adult member had to be a member in that society, Sabha. So in one particular case, the Sabha to which he belongs, Siddhartha belongs, they want to fight with the neighboring village because there was a water dispute between these two villages. So the Sabha to which Prince Siddhartha belongs decide to fight with the neighboring village. Siddhartha did not agree to it. Siddhartha voices his opinion. He says we should not go and fight. But the overwhelming...
I am not a man of words. I don't much talk. Basically, I don't much talk, and I am not a person of addressing many gatherings and all. So basically, our organization was started in the year of 1989 when Coimbatore was affected with the very worst ever bomb blast. I know everybody know here. So we were the first people to gather almost 10,000 youths across the city, gathered all NSS and NCC volunteers everywhere, and we were at the time of the doorsteps of every youth here, and we asked them to represent the Coimbatore citizens, and we addressed or we helped everyone in the hospitals, in the road, everywhere. We made normals, and we proudly say that our Coimbatore is peaceful only because of us. I have got 10,000 youths around city. I have adopted almost 76 slums in Coimbatore. 76 slums are under our control, and each and every youth we are making them to be literate. Who are not going to school, we are putting them back to school. Who are not going to job, they are the people who are making some mischievous work, and we don't want to be them idle. We don't want to make them to come to other end of the road and go to this side of activities, and we are bringing them back to stream, and we are making free employment for them everywhere. Since I know all the industries, some people are working in my industries, and also we are putting them in other industries also. As if I can tell I'm here because of my parents. There was a great saint who says that Thai solvikka verillai, Tandai solvikka mandramillai. So because of my father, he is a Group 1 officer. Basically,
or is there something more to it? The servant leadership is a blend and balance between a leader and a servant. You got to have that humility of a servant. You got to have that confidence and motivating spirit of a leader. Both when you have, then the combination of it, it will lead to certain, you got to understand the leadership qualities when you become a servant leader. There is an inverted pyramid here, unlike Maslow's theory of motivation. In the leadership model for servant leader, firstly, that will to do must come. Will to do at command, will to do at demand. Then is the love with which you do things. Very important. I will take a few examples. And you do it with a sense of service and sacrifice. Like here is the icon of who is doing it with a sense of service and sacrifice. And do it with all authority. You are not doing for any, dakshinya. You are doing it with authority, and then that takes you to the leadership. With this model as a background, let me take to a few names here. You need to have the, there are different dimensions, attitudinal, behavioral, ontological dimensions, and I will take it through an example again. Now,
you need not look back, people will follow you. Next. Right? This is the 7 pillars of leadership as proclaimed and through empirically studied and proved. If one has got these 7 characters, then only we say he is a servant leader. Otherwise what will happen? He will become a servant only. All servants are not leaders. If you do politely talk, if you are very truthful, if you are very honest, never think you will become a servant leader. You become only a servant. To become a servant leader, you need these 7 characters. What are the characters? You see from left to right. A person of character. There are people who say that, personally she is very bad, but professionally she is very intelligent. Can anybody be like that? Can anybody be like that? Personally bad and professionally excellent? No. A servant leader is one person. Both profession and person is far excellent. Look at the second one. Look at the second one. You see, how many colleges are there in Tamil Nadu, and all the colleges, when they advertise for something, what they put? They put one building, and below they put secretary and a principal. It is not the secretary and principal what is important for a college. Put the people first. Put the faculty first. Put the students first. They are real servant leaders. All others are leaders, but not servant leaders. A servant leader is a person who always looks at the back. He is always invisible. He is not seen. When there is a problem, he solves the problem. When there is a solution, when the problem is solved, everybody say, we have solved the problem. But who solved the problem? It is the leader who solved the problem. He is highly invincible. Right? So what he does, he puts the people first. He puts the people first. Look at this. Highly skilled communicator. You can be a servant, but you cannot be a servant leader. You can be a servant leader only when you are able to communicate. Only, for example, Mahatma Gandhi, a servant leader. Why? He was able to communicate what he wanted. He was able to communicate strong.
Swami Vivekananda, one of the greatest and noblest sons of India ever produced. One who came on the scene when India needed a giant to awaken India. And in his own words, he said, the longest nights are over. The sorest troubles have ended. The sleeping giant has awakened. This is his wording. And for our young friends, please take note only the Swami Vivekananda's words, which will energize you and electrify you. The longest nights are over, the sorest trouble has ended, and the sleeping giant has awakened. This is what he told about India some 100 years ago. There are two things that is fundamental for becoming a servant leader in my perception. One is commitment to the cause or the mission. There is one parable about that. There was a war going on between two countries. People were affected. People were migrating from one place to another. One family was leaving the home, everything. It was a forest and people were moving. And in that family there was one old man. He could not walk further. He fell down. All the other people were just going without minding the old man. But a young lady in that family got an idea. She had a small baby. She took the baby to the old man and gave that baby to the old man to be taken care of. She moved forward. Then the old man automatically started walking forward. Why? Because now a mission has been given to him. In spite of his inabilities, in spite of his sufferings, he was able to move further. And that is the capacity, or that is the purpose of the mission that will make people do wonders. And therefore, a servant leader like Mr. Lakshmanan, he has a mission, and that makes wonders, and that makes him an ordinary person